Hello, you sussy bakas, and welcome back to Stationeers. We'll be returning to this wonderful little game with something of a challenge run today, which has certainly never been done on this channel before. No sir, not us. We're going to see if we can survive crash landing on the brutal, ravaged hellhole that is your mama's house. For you see, Vulcan is about as close to hell as you can get, without a Praeger U subscription anyway, and we're gonna be landing there with no money, no jetpack, and no backup. If we die, that's it. The series ends. We've got one life, one shot, one opportunity, and absolutely zero spaghetti. So can our brave and perpetually unlucky protagonist, Mark Gottme, navigate the nightmarish labyrinth of interconnected systems that is Stationeers to survive and even perhaps thrive? Only time will tell. And also this YouTube video will also tell. Please watch the whole thing. So hitch up your jockstraps and don't forget your towels, because things are about to get real hot. Ah yes, hell. Now look, Stationeers is a very complicated game, and so if you have no idea what you're looking at, don't worry, that makes two of us. I'll do my best to explain the what and the why of everything Mark's doing, but as for the how, well, we've got a ton of other series you can check out that cover everything in pretty clear detail. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Before Mark can do anything, he'll need a place to live, and before he can do that, he'll need a few resources. Thankfully, those are something that Vulcan's got in abundance. That and a goddamn black hole. Yeah, right over there. It's named Janus. You know that? He's got two sides to him, I hear.
Is there anything better than pussy? Yes, a really good book.
Made of a delectable mix of methane, carbon dioxide, free-floating hydrogen, and more pollutants than even Flint, Michigan would know what to do with, this isn't an atmosphere where you'd want to spend a lot of time outside in. Night is a balmy 127 degrees Celsius, and the day can easily crest over 1,000 in the summer. On the upside, no humidity, zero water, anywhere to be found. As you can see, Mark's oxygen supply also doubles as his air condition. His suit will constantly pump cool gas from his O2 tank through his suit and into his waste tank, sweeping up any CO2 he breathes out in the process. This is a good thing. However, it also means that our precious O2 supply will rapidly heat up. Dropping the pressure in the suit can slow this down a little, but we'll still want to limit the amount of time we spend outside during the day. This waste gas can be recaptured if you're very careful, but one wrong move, and that oxygen will mix with the atmosphere, and Mark will be doing his best impression of the Human Torch. As a quick reminder, the slots on the left represent Mark's various pieces of equipment. Each one has an inventory and controls that will pop out when it's selected. In the middle of the screen are Mark's hands. These hold things, and utilize a control scheme scientifically designed to weed out the weak and the unworthy. In the bottom right of the screen are the environmental readouts. All you need to know about these is that if the inside of Mark's suit ever matches the outside, he's having a really bad day. We'll also need to manage Mark's hunger, his hydration, and his tiny, tiny bladder. That's right, people. Stationeers, in its commitment to creating a fully realized and hyper-realistic simulation of the human condition, has implemented the ability to engage in modern political discourse and fling feces at your enemies. Of the many fun ways Mark can die on Vulcan, getting headshot by a flying falafel is not, yet, one of them. Instead, entropy is going to be our biggest hater. If it wasn't apparent yet, the heat on Vulcan is insidious, and will creep into everything, including Mark if he's not careful. Having no jetpack means that he's as good as dead if he falls too far down a ravine and can't dig his way out. While all that exposition was going on, Mark was busy gathering up his supplies. We dropped in with an emergency crate containing some basic construction materials and a single insulated tank full of oxygen. Wasting no time, Mark threw down a 3x3 square as his base's foundation, with 2 extra spots facing north and south for the solar panel and furnace we started with respectively. Don't worry about the hole in the middle, that's a surprise tool that will help us later. The first order of business was to get these frames walkable by welding a single iron sheet into them. We could then unpack and set up the furnace and power controller. A spare battery was placed inside, which would power everything until Janus made his return in the morning and we could get solar up and running. Mark threw some iron in the furnace immediately and then set about building his auto lathe. This is a very nifty machine that can... With that wired up and fed some iron, the printer immediately started pumping out iron walls and sheets to help Mark seal in the flavor. 2 sheets into the floors will make them airtight. A quick supply of some copper allowed him to print out a pair of doors, and some silicon gave him the glass sheets he needed to complete the windows. All that was then left to do was to set up the external airlock vent. Intentionally overpressurize some pipes he quickly printed, and give himself some old school ventilation. Explode, damn you. There we go. Mark may be sealed in for now, but he's far from powerless. Using his patented phase-shifting technology, he's able to smash his head through windows and control any device at toe level. At this point, we're going to slow things down a little and get Mark's perspective on where we should go next. Okay, fantastic. We've got ourselves a little shack on Vulcan. Perfect, that'll keep the sun off our heads for now. And as you can see in the bottom right corner, I have pulled a vacuum in here using the external vent on our airlock. So what now? What do we do next? Well, I hold the answer in my hands. We got ourselves some potato seeds over here. We are going to need to put down a greenhouse as early as possible, ideally like around day 3 or 4, so that we can really speed run our way towards growing crops. Because with crops, we can turn carbon dioxide, which we can get from Vulcan's atmosphere, into oxygen, and that oxygen can be combusted with the hydrogen, also in Vulcan's atmosphere, in order to give ourselves a little bit more water. Delicious. Now, we could potentially build the greenhouse up here in the shack. We could use Janus's light in order to grow the plants, but unfortunately there's a mechanic in this game where if the sunlight hits a tile with gas in it, that gas heats up, which means that very quickly this room would become too hot for our poor little potatoes to grow in, and we don't want that to happen. While I'm talking, let me smelt up some iron. We're definitely going to need a bunch. So what do we do? Well, that's what this central panel is for. We are going to be digging down, straight down. We are going to be aiming for the core. No, I'm kidding. We're just probably going to be building ourselves a silo base in this here world, which means that our greenhouse is going to be underground, which means that in order for us to actually grow anything, we are going to need grow lights, which is the panel we were on there for a second. Let's just pull that up. Grow lights. Grow lights are very, very cool. Grow lights allow you to grow plants indoors, so you don't have to look at the sun. You get to avoid the whole overheating problem, right? Unfortunately for us, grow lights require advanced alloys. That arc furnace we started with can turn copper ore into copper and iron ore into iron. What it cannot do is turn iron and coal into steel. For that, you need an actual proper furnace, and we're going to need to make steel and electric. A furnace over here is printed at the auto lathe, which we already have, and it costs iron and copper, which we've already mined, and it produces this machine. This is pretty damn cool, and we'll talk about that more once we've got one. However, in order to print that grow light, we are actually going to need a different type of printer. The auto lathe can't do it. We need to make ourselves the electronics printer, this thing over here. And while we're at it, we're also going to need a bunch of pipes and an air conditioner and filtration units and vents and all sorts of things, which are made in the hydraulic pipe bender, which is the third printer on the menu for today. So, in order to fit those into this space, we are going to have to make this space a little bit bigger. There's just no way that it fits inside this room right now. They're too big. They're about this size, and they can be a real hassle, let me tell you, to fit if you don't plan around them. So I think the best plan for us for right now is actually going to be to make our space a little bit bigger, and also to put down some lights, because this is a YouTube video, and unfortunately you guys can't see anything. And on. Beautiful. Okay, now we can see. Is what I would say if I had plugged that in. There we go. Okay, that's what I want to see. So, to recap, we need to first expand the base, then get the printer to print some more printers, set them all up, and then build ourselves a furnace. Thankfully, expanding the base is as easy as cracking open the box we just built and slapping down a few more iron walls and frames to give ourselves some more room to breathe. Speaking of which, okay, let's set up these pipes over here, and I've already moved some cables around to make sure this is possible. And we're going to build ourselves 2 little storage lines. These are not connected to one another, and that is intentional, because what we need to do now is siphon out all the gas from this space. Not that you can see the power buttons with how bright these flares are, I'm really sorry. We will sort out the lighting at some point, I promise. just not right now. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to connect it to this line. So if we have a look in here, this room is completely vacant. There is no pressure inside of this little airlock. So what we can do is we can actually open up our waste canister, which will dump all the contents into this space. And as you can see, it's oxygen and carbon dioxide, almost 50-50, at a very, very high temperature, which is increasing because I have this damn flare currently burning in my butt. So I'm actually going to throw that outside for a little ambient lighting. And that'll slow down the heat up. So what we can do is we can turn this vent on, and it will siphon up all of this gas. The reason we want to do that, the reason we want to keep this space separate from all our other spaces is very specific. The reason we want to keep that gas separate, rather, is because it's hot. We just don't want a bunch of hot CO2 and oxygen mixing with all of our nice breathable gas. So let's do that next, because we need a breathable atmosphere in order to eat, poop, and drink in that order of importance. And so let's sort this out. First things first, we need to put this back there. There's a bunch of hot gas in here we don't want, which I'm actually going to currently tell this thing to start vacuuming out again. Very cool. And then let's grab ourselves our O2 tank, because we're going to need to let some O2 out in order to give ourselves a space to eat and drink in. And I think let's put down the cereal bar and the water pack right over there, and that's what we're going to use to get started. Okay, so for now, let's close this up. Let's pull a vacuum. Let's make sure that is a vacuum. Yes, it is. Okay, let's pick up the vent. Let's put it here. So that's our waste gas line. This is going to be our breathable gas line. And what we're going to do is we're going to top up our O2 tank. If we have a look in there, we can confirm that is still pure oxygen. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to open up this O2 tank. So now this room has a nice 56 kPa, that's pretty high pressure, set of oxygen, which we can use at a nice cool 15 Celsius, which is literally perfect, right? There we go. Oh, and I am out of power, so let's just put that. Just turn the suit back on for a second. We can actually take the suit off completely, and as you can see, I am now safe. There we go. We are safe and sound on Vulcan. Very cool. So let's take out a water packet and slurp that down. Delicious. And then let's take out our let's take out a cereal bar. Delicious boneless cereal and munch on that. Lovely. Okay, keep that in the corner for now. We don't need it. And our mood is currently pretty low because we were dehydrated. It is slowly but surely increasing because we have good hygiene, which mostly just means we don't have a suit on, and because we're in a closed room with air, which is really, really nice. Your character loves it. Unfortunately, we can't stay like this for long. We need to get outside while it's still dark and go do some more mining so that we've got stuff to smelt during the day. So let's switch this vent around, siphon up all the gas, and then we're going to need to set this one back to work, cleaning out the actual workshop, because there is still a whole bunch of pollutants in there, which we don't want. Okay, you siphon all these out. Gorgeous. And they, of course, unfortunately, because this room is hot, it is going to be heating up the gas in these pipes until we pull a vacuum, in which case there's nothing to exchange heat with, so it won't heat up anymore. Very cool. With his lungs sufficiently oxygenated and his bowels rapidly filling up, Mark got back to the work that really matters. Digging holes. Oh crap, is that the sun? It is the sun. Okay, let's get out there and let's just do a little bit of work before the sun comes up. Actually, specifically something we really want to get going is this gold. And oh crap, I was supposed to do this overnight and I forgot to do it. No. All ores in Stationeers output gases when you smelt them. Every single one of them. They output different gases, but they all do it. And unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, depending on your position, gold outputs oxygen. And that means that, well, as you might guess, it catches on fire once it gets hot enough. And the daytime in Vulcan is very much hot enough to set fire to our lovely oxygen. So we're definitely only going to want to be smelting that at night. In fact, it might already be on fire. Yep, there it is. It's on fire. Okay, let's go. Let's go stop that because it is going to destroy our wires and furnace. And we only need a couple of grams. I think it's like 2 per printer to get started here. Okay, turn you off because you are actually destroying yourself. There might be damage on this. Yep. Not yet. No damage yet, but there could have been. We'll put that on the other side of the glass, and then I'm going to risk it. We're going to do some daytime mining. What do I need? I need a ton of iron and a ton of copper. So let's work on those. Back at base, the moment of truth had finally arrived. Oh, look at that, look at that. It's the moment you've all been waiting for. Oh, I gotta poop, but I don't have the poop bags. Oh, they're in the lander. Okay, we're gonna have to do a brief excursion. Wait. I think I may have just let a bunch of pollutant in here. I did. I just let a bunch of pollutant, methane, and hydrogen in here. I don't really want to put that in there, but also don't really want to put that outside. So I'm gonna do neither, and I'm gonna put it in the waste gas line, and that's just something we're gonna have to deal with. It does mean, unfortunately, we've contaminated our oxygen line, and that was just because I clicked the wrong button for a second, and we need a proper airlock ASAP. Okay, head outside. Please grab the bag. Please grab the bag. Please grab the bag, and head back inside. I'm rushing, and we're making silly mistakes. You gotta slow down and focus. Okay, siphon all this out. And yeah, we should definitely get the pooping done now, though. That's something we gotta do. While we've got the air tank in here, we can solve this. Okay, so pump out what gas we still have left. It's not a ton. That's okay. We're just gonna do it again. We're gonna open our O2 canister. We're gonna top it back up, and that's plenty of pressure. We are going to take off our suit. We are going to use in our suit, without taking our pants off, we are gonna fill a waste bag. Literally just crapped our pants. Beautiful. Slurp down some more water, and now we head back inside. Okay. Man, in the early game, you've really got to do so much, so quickly, so carefully, or else you can really screw up your systems, especially when they're like mega manual like they currently are. With his britches sufficiently soiled, Mark could now turn his attention to knocking out the rest of his task list. The hydraulic pipe bender and the electronics printers were pumped out while Mark did his best coal shoveling impression and kept the arc furnace running throughout the day. By the time night had fallen, he was ready to head back out for some more mining, this time with the objective being to sniff out the ingredients for a few more mid-game alloys. So we need to make 3 alloys. Specifically, we want to make ourselves solder, or solder, depending where you're from. We're going to want some steel, and we're going to want some electrum, right? These are going to allow us to make the grow lights, these 2 respectively, and solder will allow us to make a lot of the electronic parts that'll let us set up the solar tracking and some of the power control systems. So basically we need these 3. Invar and Constantin are nice to haves, but we can get them later. We don't need them right now. Steel is very much first on the menu, and as you can see, it requires a 3-to-1 ratio of iron and carbon. In this case, that's going to come from quote-unquote coal on the surface, which we'll just pretend are deposits of, like, I don't know, carbon, just pure old raw carbon. And that's going to make us some steel, but we need to go find some. We're also going to need, like I said, to make electrum. This one's real tricky. It's got a really tight pressure range you got to fit within, and Vulcan's so hot that it can actually be quite a challenge to get the pressure low enough, because of course as temperature increases, so does the pressure. That's also made in the furnace, and that's a simple 1-to-1 ratio. We need gold and we need silver. So we'll try and get a full stack of each, and then we need to make some solder or solder. And that is regrettably quite cold, actually. 227 degrees for Vulcan is basically frigid. We're going to need to get some iron and some lead, again in a 1-to-1 ratio, and shove it in the furnace. Unfortunately for us, for both the electrum and solder recipes, though the ores that you use to make them output a bunch of flammable gases. In the case of gold and silver, it is oxygen and nitrous, respectively. And in the case of lead, I think it's nitrous as well, which is a hell of a good fuel. Basically, at a very low temperature, at nighttime temperatures on Vulcan, it will auto-combust with the methane and hydrogen in the atmosphere, and it is going to absolutely skyrocket the temperature and pressure inside of our furnace. So that's not great. We're going to have to do some very clever shenanigans. Like, we'll have to pump some gases out and pump some gases in order to make it work. But that's okay. That is okay. It's par for the course at this point.
A few minutes later.
Unfortunately, the sun has fully risen in the sky, but we are almost there. We've got just a little bit of silver to pick up right here, and then we'll have all of the raw resources we need to make all the alloys we want, which is a really, really nice milestone to be in. We don't have any nickel, so there's no Invar and Constantin on the menu right now. That's okay. It's really easy to get. In fact, I think I saw some on the mountain above me, and so we'll get to that later. But for now, I may or may not have forgotten to empty out my backpack, so we're a little shy on space. But we can pick up some silver, and I'm actually going to get more than just the 50 I need to make my 100 grams of electrum, because silver is a really, really, really good source of nitrous, like I mentioned, meaning that it is an exceptional way to heat up your furnace. You just pump in a little bit of gas from Vulcan's atmosphere, and, well, you pump in a little bit of silver, and you've got yourself a hell of a bomb waiting to happen, let me tell you. Alright, that's good enough for me. I think we need to get the hell out of here. I'm going to try to do a little parkour. Yep, there we go. Mountain goat. Beautiful. And let's head inside the base, because, well, not only is the solar panel facing the wrong goddamn direction, but we've also got a little bit of panicking that we need to get done. With all the ingredients for greatness laid out before him, all Mark needed to do now was put them all together. The hydraulic pipe bender was wrenched into place, the autolathe shimmied over, the goddamn light flicked on, and the electronics printer wired up. This meant that it was time for the furnace for the alloys. The furnace specifically chosen to smelt the ores into alloys. The alloys furnace.
Got you covered.
Excellent.
Boom, bam, baby.
Cusco's furnace was unceremoniously shoved into a wall and just needed an active vent and some pipes to get it working. A couple more vents were also added to the airlock to help cut down on the chances of me screwing something up in the future. However, before that theory could be put to the test, Mark needed to tackle a much bigger problem. The floorage. Okay, you know what? Something I actually want to stay ahead of, like, really early on and not fall behind on as much as possible, is actually going to be management of, like, our inventory, because it is very easy to forget you have things in this game. For example, I had absolutely no idea that I had 5 walls just sitting over there. So let's put down a locker, and we'll just put down a shelf, I think, for now, because they're a bit cheaper. Okay, so a shelf in there, and then I would love, let's just put down another, like a long shelf up here, just like that. That's perfect. And you can store things like my poop bag. You can store some of the food boxes, some loose food, and a bottle of water. And then the rest of this can just be stacked in storage for later. And we are going to stay on top of this, and we are going to be very, very good, and we're not going to screw it up. That's the plan. Just gonna put away all of this crud so I don't lose it. Okay, that looks good. Let's go sort out this furnace. A handful of pipes, an active vent, and some chutes were all that were needed to get this marvel of ancient technology up and running. The vent will allow Mark to control the pressure inside the furnace, and the chutes will make sure that all the inputs and outputs end up in the right places. So as you can see, the pressure inside our furnace is increasing, and it is exactly the same atmospheric composition as the world outside, which is what you'd expect, right? Let's turn you off for a moment. Thank you. And then we can start playing with it a bit. So I think what I'm going to do is run the lead through there first, because the lead is going to rapidly smelt. As you can see, it'll decompose into a bunch of stuff. We've got some nitrous, we've got some water being formed as the combustion happens. We've got all the hydrogen being consumed very rapidly. There's a bunch of nitrogen in there now as well. Very cool. So we got a smorgasbord of stuff, basically. And that's going to produce a nice stinky ingot of lead. And in fact, I'm going to do that 2 times. Let's run another ingot through there. And as you can see, we're going to get 100 grams of lead out of this. We'll let that out, and we'll just keep that as an ingot. Ores can only off-gas once. This is a balance thing, right? So you can kind of think of it like you're roasting the ore, meaning that that lead is not going to output those gases again, meaning that when it's time for us to make our solder, we'll be able to very comfortably. I'm then going to take advantage of this very, very hot furnace to try and make some steel. For that, we're going to need 3 stacks of iron and 1 stack of coal. I do have a suspicion that we're not actually going to be able to maintain that temperature. I think as the cold gas from these ores comes out, it's going to drop too much. As long as it stays over 900 Kelvin, which I think is unlikely, we will get steel. Which, of course, is a lot lower than in real life. And the button's gone red, meaning that we don't have a valid recipe anymore, but that's also just because, yeah, it's too cold. So what we'll do is we'll actually let all of that stuff out. It's going to come out as this goop reagent mix, which is not ideal. And then what we'll do is we'll run our electrum mix through it as well. And that'll heat it all back up again. So you know what? I'll just do a stack of gold, I think, to start. Because that's just going to give us a whole bunch of O2 in the chamber, which will increase the temperature again. And also I just need some free-floating gold, right? Like, it's just a useful material to have access to. And I just don't think we're going to get over the 900 Kelvin mark. So let's run the silver through. A whole lot of it. This is going to be real hot. And we will run the other parts too as well. And that will not make electrum because the pressure is too high, but the temperature is now perfect. So we're going to take this reagent mix, make sure we don't mix that with the steel, because that'll screw everything up. And then let's throw that steel mix we made earlier back into the furnace. And if I do this in 4 chunks of 50, it will actually... Could you go in there, please? It will actually spit out steel. There we go. In perfectly balanced chunks. Beautiful. And honestly, I'd rather have 4 ingots of 50 than 1 ingot of 200. So this works out beautifully. And one more. Are we going to make it? Yes, we are. Because, again, there is no additional gas being produced. Once you've smelted it once, it's done. So you can kind of like keep it like that. Now, we need to drop the pressure in there dramatically in order for us to make, well, basically anything else that we want to make. It's way too high. It would be fine for the solder, but it's too hot. But for the electrum, again, electrum is very finicky. It needs to have a high temperature, but at a very low pressure. So where do we need to be? Here we go. We need to be over 600 Kelvin, but between 800 pascals, kilopascals, and 2.4 megapascals, which we are quite literally 10 times that. So I think we need to do a little bit of vacuuming. And just a little bit of vacuuming later, Mark had himself some electrum. And several hours after that, some fuel for an argument. The sun has finally set on day 4, and we are finally ready to pull out our solder. If I go ahead and crack that, you'll see we've got a gorgeous 200 grams of solder, or whatever the hell you call it in your country. In my country, we say solder, and I will die on this hill. And you'll see that we now have all 3 of the mid-game alloys needed to build our greenhouse. We have steel, we have electrum, and we have solder. That's right. Unfortunately for us, though, you'll note that one of our ingots is missing from the steel. We had 4, we have 3. What happened to the 4th one? Well, this. This eldritch horror over here is our steel sheet pile. I sort of committed the entire thing to be construction materials because we're going to need a whole bunch of them, so we might as well let this run. Now, the initial plan, as you may all remember, was for us to build a greenhouse down below, and that is probably still going to happen, but I think that we might need to delay it slightly. I think we need to build a temporary one on the surface first, so that, oh, that's not building anything, so that we actually have our, we actually have the resources needed to build one on the bottom, right? Because right now it's going to take a little bit too long. Building underground in Stationeers is totally viable, but also kind of a little bit of a pain. Before we can run a greenhouse, we're going to need a lot more power. So maybe that's what we invest in first. Let's take a look here. If I wanted to get more solar panels, how close are we? We just need some steel, so let's get that going. That would be great. And then if I wanted to get myself a battery, like the big batteries, we can make that right now. So let's actually get that set up, because we're going to want a bigger battery regardless. And then I'm going to need more panels. So what is a solar panel going to cost me? Copper, which I'm out of. Gold, which I'm going to run out of. And steel, which I have more of, but will probably run out of at some point. We'll also need more glass. That's a given. But I think what we actually need to do right now, just looking at this, is put the copper in there. I think we need to go mining. Yeah, that'll build 2 panels. I think to build the new 1x5 panels, hold on, let's have a look here. Solar panel. Yes, these 1x5 versions, I think it only requires 4 solar panels. So you get one free, basically. Build 4, get one free. Love it. Let's take advantage of this, I think, and go mining. So I won't subject you to that. I'll see you all once we've got some alloys to smelt, or rather, raw resources this time. And snap back to a nice little pile of resources, and also a pile of, more importantly, construction materials. We now have 3 additional solar panels. I've already got the glass printed, and we've got ourselves a big old battery. Now, in order to make any actual use of this, we are going to need to get some heavy cable coils, and we're also going to need to get some sensors. Let me get that done first. because we can actually double up the automation for the solar tracking and the greenhouse in one go. So I think let's plan to do it all in one fell swoop, or at least sort of build it around the same area at least, right? Let's get the heavy cable going, because we are absolutely going to need that. And then we'll go get these larger panels built, probably tonight. I think I'm going to print things throughout the day, and then at night we'll tear it all apart and rebuild everything we need to, and I'll explain what everything does then. But yeah, we got lots and lots and lots and lots to print, so I will cover it all when it's all ready, because yeah, we're going to be here for a while.
One eternity later.
Unfortunately, we've had to light another flare because the nighttime has fallen, but the overwhelming majority of the stuff that we want to work with here is now ready. So I'm going to go ahead and tear down our existing solar panel setup, and then we're going to rebuild it on the roof, ideally, in the final position where it's just going to live. And you don't have a battery. Why would you? That'd be too easy, wouldn't it? Perfect. Okay, so this solar panel now can get stashed with the other stack. There we go. Lovely. And now we need to do a little bit of clever recabling in order to fit everything in. So to start, let's pull up these old thin cables. Now these have a max kilowattage, I suppose, a max rating of 5 kilowatts. And we are hopefully going to produce a lot more than that with our new solar array. So we're going to upgrade to heavy cable coils. This has a max rating of 100 kilowatts. So it's a hell of an upgrade. I'm going to do it like this. We're going to have 2 of them facing each other just like that, because right here, I happen to know I want a station battery. We're going to make sure that the output faces forward. So you can see it just like there. There's 2 little arrows. We want the arrow facing out to face towards the base. That's going to go there. And then the input will be on the back. And then we just need, I think it's some steel sheets and a welding torch. And then a screwdriver. Yeah, there we go. Okay, and that is fully constructed. Beautiful. So then we need to now run cable coil. Turn it on for starters so that it accepts power. And then we need to connect this up to where we want the solar panels to be. So I know I'm going to want that on the roof, so let's move this forward. And I just really pray I have enough of these cables. If not, we're going to have to print some more, and that's going to be messy. Whoop. We are also, unfortunately, going to have to pull the roof off of this place, because the frames won't allow themselves to be placed here, as you can see, with the walls in the way. It just doesn't work. I'll chuck those down there. We'll use them again for something else, I'm sure. And these can get placed right here. Okay, lovely. Then, oh, there goes my flare. Let's write another one. Oh, I cannot wait till we have surplus power and we can build ourselves a mobile torch so that we can actually see what we're doing. Oh, it's going to change our lives. Okay, now we have our solar panels. If I scroll, we can build the 1x5 version, which is perfect. We definitely don't want to build it on the wall, though. We want to build it up there. How am I going to get up there? I think if I'm clever, I can do something like this. Just put an angled frame so that I can stand up here. That could work. Okay, and then we need to place these. And I want to make sure it's fairly centered. Something like this. Lovely. And then I think I need to weld in... Oh, I've been knocked off. I think I need to weld in steel sheets to that to get it running. What is it? Hand drill. No? Oh, just place them there. Okay, sure. And then glass. Beautiful. Now we have big solar panel. Very big solar panel. And we have one combined data input-output over there, which needs to connect up to our battery connection. There we go. Now, can I actually adjust the angle manually on this? No, it doesn't look like it. Oh, I can. I totally can. Okay, I need you to tilt upwards. I need you all to face that way, just for now. And they don't shade each other. And look at that, we're already getting like 2 kilowatts of power. That's insane. Let's just make sure we're getting as much out of it. 2.3 kilowatts, I'm fine with that for now. Because we're going to try our best to set up... Oh, you can squeeze out a little more. Why not? We're going to try our best now to set up the solar tracking. But that should be bringing a ton of power into the battery. And it is. Beautiful. So let's... oh, actually, while I'm up there, let's set up a daylight sensor so that we can tell when it is and is not daylight. And because we've got the heavy cable connecting to both power and data, and we want them facing in the same direction, ideally, I think we stick this right here. And I think that'll work perfectly. Something like that? Perfect. So we got solar panels, we got the solar daylight sensor. Now we just need to connect it all up to IC chips and program it to do the tracking for us. What joy awaits. Oh, and what joys there were to be had. Mark's shopping list included a wall-mounted computer and the motherboard to go with it, a pair of IC housings, and the actual programmable chip itself. Once the PC was set up, all Mark needed to do was import the handy solar tracking script provided to him by his benevolent and incredibly handsome fungal god. If you'd like to use this script for yourself, you can find a link to it in the description of this video, or even better, if you'd like to writhe in the benevolence of the shroom, you can check out our tutorial video explaining how to do so. Sorry, I meant if you'd like to learn how to write a solar tracking script, you can check out our tutorial video on how to do so. There's no cult. There's no cult. Take me off the list. Okay. And just like that, Mark's panels were tracking the sun and producing a very respectable 3.45 kilowatts of power. It was quite the upgrade. It should be mentioned though that you do not need to write code to automate things in this game. Stationeers includes a fully fledged logic system, and so if that's more your speed, I highly recommend checking out Radamont's channel. The man is a wizard with the cables and a prized champion in our holy war against people backseating the fun out of games. Seriously though, check out his work. I think you'll love it. Speaking of finally seeing things, with free infinite power at his fingertips, Mark decided it was finally time to make himself a portable light and a wireless charging system. This will really help us put the video part back in this whole YouTube video thing. The joke is funny. You see, it's funny because video, or video, literally means I see in Latin. Huh? Bet you didn't know that, you stupid motherfuckers. Yeah, go to law school for 9 years and you'll leave with one useful piece of information, and it's gonna be that. And you didn't even learn that at law school. You learned that in ancient languages class because you didn't have the credits to finish your law degree within the 3 years typically taken. That's right. Take that, liberals. Which meant it was time to start setting up the greenhouse. First up on the menu was a fresh batch of steel. Come on, get over 900. Let's see it. 900 Kelvin. There it is. And voila, 400 units of steel. Beautiful. And then all the bits and pieces we'd need to build a proper airlock. Okay, so we've got the 2 vents and the pipes for the airlock. We're also going to need a console to control it, which is this thing. And then we're going to need the advanced airlock control board. Okay, it is the middle of the day right now, but I think we want to get out there before we risk getting any other further interruption. So I am going to crack this all open. There's the cables from our previous computer build. Let's pick those up. And we want to be as quick as possible here. Let's get down a steel frame to serve as the floor. We are going to... And then you know what? We don't have the solar panel there anymore, so I'm gonna steel frame this wall and the roof, and then this one's just gonna be a regular wall. Something like this. For now. Okay, let's get the doors in. And I will do the glass doors, I think. They've finally changed them so that now you can run cables through the sides, which I'm a big fan of. I know it was a pretty divisive decision because it breaks the immersion of this game, which is a computer game, and therefore actually literally just a toy, and it's okay if sometimes things aren't exactly like the real world. And with that sealed in, we can then turn on the vent and start pumping out all this horrible hot gas, which is rapidly heating up my breathable air. And there is liquid in that pipe. Crap. It'll be fine. You know what? That's actually a problem we can solve quickly. If I just get some copper and some iron, we chuck these in here, I can make a drain. Because the liquid that's in that pipe is some pollutant. There is pollutant in that pipe that is liquefied because the pressure is so high. We can actually deal with that. If we take this and we slap that right over there, it'll actually allow the liquid pollutant to just fall out of that pipe, which will stop stressing it and also remove the pollutant. And that'll get sucked up by the gas vent over there. There we go. So no more pollutant in that pipe. Now we just have wonderful methane and hydrogen to blow us up with. Yeah, baby steps, you know? Okay, so that's going to be our first airlock. Let's start putting it together. We'll have the console, sure, on the left. Just like that, with the airlock chip, and then we need that extra glass sheet we made to seal that in. And then we need to put down the gas sensor that will control the airlock, and I'll put that right here. And we're going to want a light on the roof. And then we're going to want the gas vents. And I think that we can probably get away with doing them just here on the sides for now. So we will do you there and you there. And then we'll have a vent just here. Oh, and this can actually come up. This wall isn't necessary anymore, because that is now a solid frame, which isn't as pretty, admittedly. Not that the iron walls are very pretty, but it is, I don't know, it just feels more secure. Oh my god, and we've actually filled up the big battery. That is amazing. Day 6, and we've got a full station battery. Okay, we may have overshot it a bit. Sort of what that means. Oh, it's fine. I think we're probably still on track to not die, but you never know until you know, right? And then I think we'll just bring power in right here. We've already got a connection point. Awesome. Okay, so that is a huge plus. The sun is slowly but surely setting, which means that we should now be able to, yeah, I think we can actually use this space. So let's close that door and let's go build our greenhouse. To start with, it's going to be real quaint. I think a 4x4 is literally what we're going to work with from the beginning. It's about as quaint as it gets. But the smaller the space, the less we have to cool, and the easier it is going to be to control the growth rate of the plants. So let's put up some walls. Oh, 17 plates, 17 walls. Couldn't ask for more. And we are going to make sure that these face outwards, for the simple reason that it is a lot easier to see your plumbing and cabling if it isn't covered by the wall texture. Okay, and I'm not actually going to seal in the last frame just yet because the atmosphere is currently pumping it out for us and cooling it down. So let's just let it do that work. And I think we can just finish setting up this airlock. We do need the last little bits and then to set up the configuration for it, which we'll do just like that. Is there anything else I want to do just yet? Yes, actually. You know what? We have access to this extra pipe. Let's make use of it to vacuum out this space. Because what I can do is just run the extra pipes over here. I can head outside real quick. You can walk through these steel frames. We'll put that over there. We hop back. Oh, God. Oh, no, don't fall in the ravine. Scoop. Thread the needle. There we go. We can seal that up. We can hop in. We can set you to inwards and pump. And there we go. And it will start pumping out this space. And it'll just put that into the atmosphere. And then this is our greenhouse. Okay, I can't actually go through yet until this is done. So I'll see you all in a second. And I'll put the pipe back. And I'll get all the stuff printed to actually make the plants work. Snapping back just for a second here as I eat and drink. I just wanted to give you an idea of where we are with our reserves. So we have 4... what's that, 7, so 11 cereal bars remaining, or 11 and a half, which is still pretty good, so we're fine for food. I will probably get up to like day 15 or 16 at this rate with that much food, but this is our last packet of water from that big box, and we've got 4 left in here, so we are up against the wall when it comes to water. That is very much going to be the next thing, or the first thing that runs out, I suppose, which is not lovely. I don't love that. I do not, let me tell you.
6.5 hours later.
Alright, this is somewhat exciting, but we have a solar storm currently going on. I suppose it wouldn't really be a solar storm, would it? It would be a accretion disk? Luminosity event? I don't know. I'm not really sure how pedantic you can be with that one, but look how shiny it all is. Oh, it's so cool. So this is going to be massively pumping out power, like the kind of power we simply wouldn't be able to use even if we tried. There is a genuinely obscene amount coming through the cables, and we're about to go see exactly how much that is. But I'm very glad we have our sealed greenhouse up and running, and this is just a little overview of what the base looks like at this point, because, yeah, it would be kind of hard to work outside right now, because it's going to be real bloody hot, let me tell you. By the way, if you want to know how to activate the cinematic camera, you just type camera cinematic after pressing F3. And then you can press the up arrow to type it again. There we go. So let's take a quick look at what's actually coming through the cables at the moment, as I imagine it is quite distressing. If I put the network analyzer cartridge in and we look at our inbound power, we're pulling 11 kilowatts. Okay, alrighty. So yeah, I'd say we can probably afford to turn on a couple extra lights. Damn. That's pretty good. With the airlock set up, but not yet configured, the time had finally come to place down our first humble greenhouse components. 3 hydroponics bays are all we need at the moment, as we only have 3 potato seeds, and they can be fed water from the 12-liter tank we dropped in with way back at the beginning. The grow light was placed just above the hydroponics trays and hooked up to power. This will need to be connected to a daylight sensor if we want to automate it, but there's currently still a little too much daylight going around for Mark to head outside right now, so instead, he spent the next few minutes printing up a labeling tool and naming all his new friends. So, error in config. No problem, we just grab a screwdriver and set up configuration. So we're going to want to set the pressure on both sides to 0, just so it opens and closes faster. And now we got to set up the exterior vents. So we know that it's none of these active vents, because all of those are the ones out there in the base, and this is why renaming it's so much easier. We now know that that's the greenhouse vent we want to set as the exterior. This is the interior greenhouse vent. That's going to be our exterior greenhouse door. The green text is the one you're setting, so that interior, we match those up. And then that's our greenhouse sensor. And we can put a light. We can set up this light so it only turns on when the airlock is running, and you know what, why not? I think I need to label it though. And there we go. Okay, so that'll turn off unless the airlock's running, in which case it will turn itself on. Yay! Alright, so let's cycle to the interior. So this should now close those doors, run the pumps, and open up this side. And there we go. So it does, and now we have perfect air control in this space. It looks like the solar storm has ended, because my screen is no longer orange. So let's head outside, let's set up the daylight sensor, and then let's do a tiny little bit of automation and some atmospherics so we can cool this whole thing down. And then, well, then we've got ourselves some potatoes to plant. Okay, where was that? This is the grow light. If the grow light's there, that means the grow light power cable's there, which means we can, that's the cable that's connected to, we can set this up like right here. So let's do just that, and then I might even be able to do this through the wall. Can I? I totally can. I totally can. Okay, awesome. And you know what? Once you're in the habit, stick with it. This is going to be our greenhouse daylight sensor. But honestly, that'll work for the whole base. And more specifically, this one is kind of the solar daylight sensor. The sensors are passive, they don't consume any power to run, so it really doesn't matter if you use multiple of them. It's mostly just for sanity's sake, or if you want to be really frugal with your resources, you can reuse them as much as you like. Okay, so we have made an exceptional effort to get to this point. It's day 7, and we've already got basically everything we need to get these growing. It's, again, a little shorter than I would have liked, but that's okay. It's okay. The only piece of the puzzle that remains is this. If I open up this canister right now, right, we're going to let out a whole bunch of that CO2 from our suit into this space, which is awesome, right? That's great that we've done that. We've got some CO2, and we've got some oxygen currently floating around here. It's mostly CO2, and that's what the plants want. But it's hot. It's 31°C. If we have a look at our potatoes, you'll see that potatoes only really like being at around 30°C. Anything more than that, and they'll actually start dramatically dropping in their growth speed. So we need to be able to cool this space. And of course, the gas in our waste capture line that we've been saving is even hotter. So I'm going to use this corner over here to do some air conditioning. To do that, we are going to build, you guessed it, an air conditioner. This is made with an atmospherics unit. It does exactly what it says on the box. It controls atmospherics. Let's build it facing this way, just like that. We're going to put some pipes in it, just like that. And then I think it's cable coils and a screwdriver. Perfect. And I'll explain how this machine works very briefly. So you take gas in the back, right? You either cool or heat it, and then you spit it out the front. Since we're going to do all of that within the same room, this is very simple. We can just put down a pair of passive vents. Just like so, right? And that will control, it'll let air in, cool it, and let it back out. However, any heat we take out of this air needs to go somewhere. We need a waste line, right, that we can dump that heat into, and that's what this line here is. And we are going to connect that to the great outdoors. That is going to go this way, and it is going to go up to the roof. And we'll go upstairs and deal with that in a second. Then we need to connect up power to this bad boy, and ideally also a little bit of data. So let's actually run this along the roof here. Voila, just like that. And the reason we want to connect the data is that these come with an IC10 chip slot, which means that we don't need to print a housing. We can put a chip in there and we can use these pins to talk to, for example, the greenhouse daylight sensor, which would be super duper useful, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So I'm going to set the pin here to talk to the greenhouse daylight sensor, that one right there, and then we're going to do some coding on this pin, on this chip, to control when that turns on and off, and then later on we can actually control a whole bunch of other stuff within this room as well, including the air conditioner itself. Before we can get to all that though, Mark needs to move all that waste gas we've been saving up into the greenhouse. This was achieved with a freshly printed portable tank and a volume pump. To use these, simply hook the two up and pray. Pray to your God that you do not go over 10 megapascals of pressure and discover what the inside of your legs look like as they move through your eyeballs at Mark Jesus. Thankfully, Mark managed to pull this off without putting the auto in autopsy and sagely transferred over the gas to its new accommodations. However, this stuff was hot, way too hot to grow our special spuds in, and therefore in need of some cooling. Thankfully, all there was left for Mark to do was set up the other half of the aircon system and capture himself some cold nighttime atmosphere. Okay, our pipe connection comes up here, and we're going to connect it straight up like that, and then we're going to add two of these in line. These are just basically to increase the volume of this whole system. Then I want to get an active vent on here, and we did have, there was a cable over there, so we'll have the active vent sit sort of right here. We'll have it plumbed in so that it can pull gas in, and this is going to be our night gas. Basically, at nighttime on Vulcan is when everything is the coolest it's going to be. We want the temperature of the waistline that we dump into to be as cold as possible. The colder it is, the better, because the colder it is, the more, you know what, the colder it is, the more we get from it, right? Like the more capacity it can absorb before we need to replace it. And let's go ahead and just make a little chimney, and then we'll stick that passive liquid drain on there to let the pollutant out, because this is going to pressurize to the point where pollutant will liquefy. We'll cover all those mechanics in a future episode, if that's something you guys want to see. If you're enjoying the video, well, you know what to do by this point, I think. So we want to make sure that this thing is only going to siphon up gas at nighttime. So this is going to be our night gas vent. Okay, and it is going to slurp up cold, quote-unquote cold gas from the Vulcan atmosphere, which will fill up this tank over here, and which we will then be able to use to dump heat into from our air conditioner's waistline. My man's timing is atrocious because he never needs to poop right after he eats and drinks, which means I always need to come back in here, take off my suit, notably not my pants, and then continue to contribute to the pollution on this planet. Alright, at this point we just need to set up a simple script to speak to the daylight sensor, and then it is going to turn on the grow lights when the night sensor is active. We can automate the night gas, we're not going to do that right now, that'll come later. We just want to get the bare minimum running, we can manually trigger it for the moment. And that's it, that's our entire script. We're going to talk to the daylight sensor, we're going to talk to any grow light on the network, and we're going to be looking for the daytime, like whether or not it is daytime. Then we just run a loop, right? We want this to run repeatedly. So it'll start at main, it'll tick down until it hits this jump command, and then it'll jump back up to main. So it'll go da 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 da, then jump da 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 da, then jump da 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 da, and we've made a loop. And all that loop does is load whether or not the daylight sensor sees the sun. That's this activate variable. And then if it does see the sun, we want to set the grow light to be on. If it sees the sun, it'll get a 1 or a 0. That's what this activate returns, it's 1 or 0. And then you can then set that 1 or the 0 to the grow light, because 0 means off and 1 means on. And it's that easy. If we don't have a gas sensor outside to check if the temperature's low, because we could also automate when that vent turns on and off, right? Which is really useful. And let's go ahead and put this inside that air conditioner, and then this will actually control, the grow light for us. And if I am correct in my assessment, it is the sun is probably set, which is why that isn't on. That's totally fine. Device not found at line 11. Oh, I haven't set the thing here, have I? Greenhouse daylight sensor. Line 11, they say. Line 11 is our grow lights. It's not seeing any grow lights. The grow light's definitely on the network because I can set it to this pin. So what we're going to do is just manually speak to it rather than... We only have one for the moment, so I can sort out the bug fixing later. It's just a bit odd. It's kind of surprising that this is an issue. It's not something I've had to deal with before. Normally they just work. Maybe they've changed how those devices interact with their network. I don't know. All we need to do to change that is just to alias the grow light to D1 rather than try and define it on the network. How about now? Now you're happy. Yeah, I guess it can't use the define function anymore. That is new. That is not something I've had to deal with before. Very strange. Okay, so it is currently nighttime, which means this thing is off, which is correct. So if I turn it on, the script will turn it off, which is perfect. That's exactly what we wanted to do. Since it's nighttime, let's head outside and let's go ahead and get this air conditioner running. We need to give it a waste gas for it to dump heat into, and let's go do it. Now, the nice thing is that it is very inefficient to do it this way, right? Like, cooling using very, very hot gas in your waistline already is super inefficient. That air conditioner is going to consume an unbelievable amount of power, and it is going to cause us all manner of headaches going forward because it is going to constantly stop working, but it is going to work for now. So let's set this inwards. Let's pump in a ton of gas, just as much thermal mass as we can manage. That'll work. Okay, that'll work. Let's go and turn on the air conditioner, see if things cool down, and I'll grab the potatoes in anticipation. Okay, we just want to get this down to like 27 Celsius. By the way, you can hold C and then click the plus minus to change by 1 degrees. If you just click it, it'll change by 10. So 27 Celsius will be plenty. And look at that, the temperature is dropping, which means the temperature in here is going to rise. And yes, it is. Very, very slowly. Just as the temperature here very, very slowly descends. Amazing. All right, what we can do, because we do want to get up to 50 megapascals, of course. What we can do is head back through. We're going to grab the oxygen tank. We'll top up our gas, and then we will allow some of the oxygen into this room so that A, it cools it down a little bit, but also B, increases the pressure. Because, of course, as we cool it down, we are also going to be dropping the pressure, which isn't ideal. So we can open up this canister, which will increase that. Actually, it was slightly cooler. Look at that. Amazing. And we can let out a little bit of this. Just enough to get us to 50 kilopascals, and ideally also to, well, keep these things alive. Okay, we are letting the O2 out. The temperature is dropping. Wonderful. And later upgrade would be to move the air conditioner outside of this room. Still have the vents coming in, but the actual machine outside so that it produces less waste heat. But there we go. We are rapidly dropping towards 30C and 50 kPa. 31C, 31.1. Oh, we're right there. We're right there. And you've currently got a cooling efficiency of 425 joules. And of course, as the pipe here heats up and the room cools down and the pressure differential changes, that efficiency is going to continue to drop. Basically, every night we're going to want to flush that tank and put in a new load. And that should be enough to keep up for now, I'm hoping. And we are at 20. Okay, let's go for 26. Why not? And let's plant some potatoes, baby. 1, 2, 3.
Huh?
It doesn't have any water. Ah! Panic, panic, panic. Emergency, emergency. There it is. Go, 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 go. Okay, okay, okay. Pop out the water tank. Hello. Place that in here. Ah. The potatoes are thriving. Yes! We did it! We did it! We did it! That's amazing! And this room is actually kind of maybe a little bit livable as well, which is just such a huge achievement. Oh, we did it. Okay. It's actually breathable. We'll have to deal with that methane and hydrogen. We need to do atmospheric filtering on this room anyway, because we want to siphon off the oxygen that the plants produce and start using it to make more water, to make more plants, to make more water, to make more plants, to make more water, to make more plants. Indeed, Mark, we do. The endless Sisyphean slope to self-sufficiency is splayed out before us as always, and survival is far from certain. Will Mark be able to overcome the blistering heat, the poisonous atmosphere, and the endless, restless maw of entropy? Or will he succumb to the greatest threat of all? My attention span. Speaking of which, every time you hit the like and subscribe buttons, my already oversaturated dopamine receptors light up like Mark's shiny skull during a solar storm, and I become increasingly bonded to the Pavlovian trigger, causing me to engage in behaviors that will generate the same response. Put another way, if you hit the buttons, we make the videos, and if you want to see the videos early, there's a secret third button you can hit that makes us do all sorts of other things. So, thank you again to all the people who push our buttons every month, and to the FBI agent now monitoring my internet traffic. It's been a pleasure working with you, Steve, and we'll see the rest of you in the next one. Cheers. You made it to the end of the video. Congratulations and thank you. That puts you in the top 3% of viewers. Here's another video that YouTube thinks you're going to like, and here is a list of all the patron and channel member names. If you don't see yours on there, you can find a link down in the description where you can sign up and support this content directly. If your name is on there, well, you probably already know that, huh? So, what are you still doing here?